What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. We're taking advantage of the 100 cards Singleton event that's running this weekend. And this one we're taking a look at a kind of a Undergrowth list, Sultai, Graveyard. So Gladiator is kind of the fan format for 100 card Singleton. So it's kind of like Commander, except you don't have an actual Commander, just straight up Singleton, 100 cards. And it encompasses all the cards on Arena. So it's basically historic. So any card you already have on Arena is playable, no matter what set it was released in. So that's while 100 cards could be kind of daunting to kind of figure out how to make a deck. You find that those slots actually fill up pretty quickly. And for the mana base, generally 34 to 38 lands is probably about where you want to be. Kind of depends on your curve, how much good card drawing you have, and things like that. We were running 36 in this one because we do have some nice ways to kind of find lands and kind of dig for those in the early turns. And even though we are in 3 colors, you typically want to run maybe a little bit more lands. But we have some decent fixing and, like I said, kind of ways to get lands in the early game. So we're just going to kind of run with 36 and see how we do. So Undergrowth is basically when you fill up your own graveyard with cards, particularly creatures, and you kind of get a value off of them. So let's kind of run down the list here real quick. I'm going to jump some matches, see how it goes. Necrotic Wound, instant speed for 1 mana, and target creature gets -X, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard, and if that creature dies, it goes through exile instead. So it's a super powerful removal spell. Obviously, it doesn't work in the early game as well, but once you get a few things in your graveyard, then this gets very, very powerful. Corpse Churn here, you can instant speed mill 3 cards, then you return the creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So you do want to fill up your graveyard with cards, especially creatures, but there may be a key creature that you want to get back, get some additional value off of. So Corpse Churn lets you kind of fill up your graveyard and get that important creature back into your hand that you can actually cast it and get some value off of. Eliminate Heartless Act, just nice removal. Mausoleum Secrets, let us tutor up any black card with mana cost less than or equal to the number of creature cards in our graveyard. Instant speed, it's very, very powerful effect for 2 mana. Obviously, we do need some work to kind of get there, but we're doing a lot of self-mill, so it shouldn't be too hard to pull off. Order of Midnight, again, lets us get creatures back from our graveyard, so there's a key creature we want some additional value off of, we can do that. And just play it as a 2/2 flyer as well that can block, so it's pretty reasonable to kind of punch through for damage in the air. Crawl Harpooner fits our Undergrowth theme a little bit, where it can fight even large flyers on our opponent's side, and allows us just a 3/2 creature with reach as well, so it can be aggressive with a 3/2 body on turn 2. It's got the reach, so it can kind of block flyers as well as fighting them when it enters. It, of course, has to live from that effect. It is a fight effect, not a deal damage effect. So, and if it does die and goes to your graveyard, well, that's just more Undergrowth for you. Merfolk Branchwalker is a way for us to kind of dig for lands. That's what the Explorer mechanic is. You reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, it goes to your hand. If it's not, you can choose to leave it there or put it into your graveyard. So all 3 options here are fantastic for us. Scavenging Ooze lets us exile cards from a graveyard. Probably not going to be targeting our own, of course, but we can if we need to. If we attack with the Ooze and we need to punch through for those last couple points of damage, maybe we do. That's always an option. Most likely, it's just a way to shut down our opponent's graveyard synergy. Binding of Titans, each player mills 3 cards. Then second phase, we get to exile 2 cards from any graveyard, and for each creature we gain 1 life. So it's pretty decent. And then phase 3, we get a creature or a land from our graveyard to our hand. So if there's a key creature we need back, if there's a land we need back for ramp or fixing, we can get that back as well. Time Score, just nice versatile removal, and also bounces creatures, so if we want to protect something from removal, we can do that. If there's a creature that is 4 or more casting costs on our opponent's side, we don't have a way to kill it, we can always bounce it back to their hand, kind of slow them down a little bit. Assassin's Trophy, just nice flexible removal spell. Fiend Artisan obviously works well with having creatures in our graveyard. 2 mana, hybrid, black or green, 1/1, and it gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. So this gets really big, really fast. And being a Singleton format, we can sack a creature to search for another creature with mana cost X or less, depending on how much mana we sink into this. We do this at sorcery speed, so a little bit of a downside. Obviously, it would be busted if you could do this at instant speed, but still pretty fantastic ability, especially in a Singleton environment, to just be able to tutor up that one creature that you need. Find Finality, we can either get creatures back or use it as a board wipe and grow one of our other creatures. Glowspore Shaman, I love this card, 3/1 for 2 mana, we mill 3, and then we can put a land back from our graveyard on top of our library, so it gives us that fixing, that ramp that we need. Whatever lands we're missing. Cloudkin Seer just draws us a card for 3 mana, pretty reasonable. Doom Necromancer is a jumpstart card here. It's a 3 mana, 2/2, and then we can pay 1 and tap it to sacrifice it to return a creature card from our graveyard to our battlefield. So it's pretty decent. Haven't really played around too much other than the Jumpstart event, so maybe it's not quite good enough, but I do want to try it at least. So this deck is untested, so we're gonna play around with it. Embodiment of Agonies obviously works with having a bunch of creatures in our graveyard, among other things, because it gets +1 counter on it for each different mana cost. And as you see on the example here, even though 2 and a black and 1 black are 3 converted mana costs, it doesn't care about total mana cost. It cares about the actual how you get there. So 2 and black is different from 1 black, which is different from black, for example. So those would all be additional counters. And since we're running Singleton, we're going to be able to put a lot of counters on this thing, especially in the late game. And for 3 mana, it's pretty fantastic, flying and death touch. So even if this comes down in the early game and it's just like a 2/2 or 3/3 or whatever, you can always block anything on your opponent's side because of the death touch, or you can just attack in with the air, through the air. And we have ways of getting creatures back as well. So pretty sweet card. Gorging Vulture mills us 4 cards, and we gain life for each creature card this way, and that's just a 2/2 flyer, which could be decent. Murder and Murderous Rider and Obnick's Cruelty, pretty fantastic removal spells. Elvish Rejuvenator lets us look for lands. Excavation Wall is a 3/3 trample, and it mills 3 cards. So not great, but it does mill 3 cards, and a 3/3 body with trample could be decent in certain spots. Loaming Shaman here is a 3 mana 3/2. When it enters, target player shuffles any number of cards from their graveyard into their library. So obviously we want to have creatures in our graveyard. That's kind of the main focus of the deck. But if there's some removal spells you wanted to get back, maybe you milled them, maybe you cast them, and you want to have maybe potential to draw into them again, you can put those back in, maybe lands, things like that, and just leave basically leave your creatures in unless there's a particular creature you want to try to get back into your library to hopefully draw into it, maybe tutor up with the Fiend Artisan, something like that. So some nice utility here on the Loaming Shaman. Relentless Pursuit is a pretty sweet little card, and what we're trying to do here, 3 mana instant, we reveal top 4 cards, we get a creature and or land from them, the rest go into our graveyard. So all these modes are relevant, certainly. We need lands in our 3-color deck, we need creatures to get value off of them, and if we put creatures into our graveyard or whatever, then we're getting value off of that still. So we're getting value off all of the modes here. Chromatic Lantern gives us our fixing for our 3-color deck and some ramp. Skittering Surveyor, same thing, 3 mana, 1/2. When it enters, we search for basic land, reveal it, put it into our hand, then shuffle our library. Chemistry Insight, just for some card draw, and having the Jumpstart as well is great since we're going to be milling a lot of cards, so we can just, even if we mill this, we can still get some value by discarding like a land or something. Or a creature, maybe, since we want creatures in our graveyard as well, and drawing 2 cards, so nice value here. Dark Bargain here, 4 mana. You know, instant speed, draw 3, look at the top 3 cards, and then put 2 into your hand, and 1 into your graveyard. Like I said, we want cards in our graveyard, so pretty fantastic, no matter what we do with this card. Instant speed is nice. We do take 2 damage because it's a black card, and that's just kind of the way those cards tend to be. E2 Extinction, nice removal for creatures, planeswalkers. Liliana, we don't care about discarding cards because we kind of want stuff in our own graveyard, and we're going to have our pretty huge graveyard, so the -3 is going to be pretty nutso. Being able to kill pretty much anything on our opponent's side, and of course the -7, if you get to that point, you can get stuff from your graveyard, you can get stuff from your opponent's graveyard. Just love everything about this card in this list. Price of Fame is fantastic in Singleton environments. Being able to kill legendary creatures for 2 mana and Surveil 2, and just being able to kill anything for 4 mana as well is okay. Ravenous Chupacabra, kill something, and have a 2/2 body, and obviously you can just replay it with a lot of our ways we can get creatures back from our graveyard. Vraska's Contempt, just nice exile removal on creatures, planeswalkers. Golgari Raiders, fantastic in the late game. It's 4 mana with haste and enters with a +1 counter for each creature card in our graveyard, so you can kind of one-shot kill your opponent with this thing if they're not prepared, if they leave their guard down. Mythos of Brakos, a fun little card here, 4 mana, sorcery speed, has seen like 0 play in Standard, I believe. I haven't really seen it. I kind of played around with one, I did a Singleton Lutri Sultai with the same kind of theme in Standard, and I did include 1 copy of this because it seemed like it fit in a Singleton environment, and definitely fits in here. If you spend Sultai mana on this, you get to search for a card, put it in your graveyard, and then you get 2 permanent cards from your graveyard back to our hand. So creatures, planeswalkers, etc. It's pretty sweet. Atris here, it fills up our graveyard, draws us cards, 3/2 Menace. Acolyte of Fiction puts mills 2 cards, and we get a permanent from our graveyard to our hand. Death Sprout, 4 mana, kill something, and search for a basic land. Rhizome Nurture is a 4 mana 2/2, however, it gets a +1 counter for each creature card in our graveyard, so again, this can get really, really big. It doesn't have any evasion or anything like that, but it still can be very difficult for your opponent to deal with. Vraska, of course, I just love this card, just nice utility on it. Solemn Simulacrum, being able to tutor up basic lands and also drawing a card when it dies, potentially recasting it, things like that. Body Double here is a card I haven't really played around with too much, but it's a new card from the last anthology. It's a 5-mana shapeshifter, and it comes down as a copy of any creature card in a graveyard. So if you've gotten something from your opponent's graveyard by milling it with like Binding of Titan or something like that, or you've killed their creature, you can just have this come down and copy that, and you can get the value off of that. Or we have plenty of decent creatures in our own graveyard. And of course, it enters the battlefield as a copy of that creature, so if that creature has enter the battlefield triggers, well, you can copy that. So pretty sweet. Cavalier of Night, of course, kills something, when it comes down, and then if they kill it, you get one of your creatures back. And the lifelink is pretty sweet as well. Gravebreaker Lamia, put something in your graveyard, anything you want. And then it's a 4/4 lifelinker. Rise from the Grave, puts any creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It is a zombie for what it's worth. Syr Konrad here, it's 5-mana 5/4. Whenever a creature dies or a creature is put into your graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, like milling it, or creature card leaves your graveyard, we have lots of ways to get creatures out of our graveyard back to our hand. Syr Konrad deals 1 damage to each opponent. So we're definitely going to be able to ping our opponent with this card pretty nicely. And we can pay 1 to a mill card, so it could be a nice way to kind of activate that ability. Continue filling up our graveyard, getting additional value, pinging our opponent down, stuff like that. Eldest Reborn here, making your opponent sack your creature or planeswalker, make them discard, and then we get any creature or planeswalker card from any graveyard back onto the battlefield under our control. Cavalier of Thorns, just a fantastic value creature, 5/6 reach for 5. Triple green could be a little hard, but we have lots of ways to kind of dig for the lands that we need. Vivian Reed here, love this card, from back from M19, 5-mana, 5 loyalty, +1 to look for creatures or lands among the top 4 cards, -3 to destroy artifacts, enchantments, creatures with flying, and of course -8, creatures you control get +2/+2, vigilance, trample, and indestructible. Can be a little hard to pull off, but pretty much all these modes are something we can definitely leverage to our advantage. Undergrowth Lich here, love this card, 5-mana, 4/3. Not too impressive, however, it does have pay 4 life to make it indestructible. And, more importantly, look at the top 3 cards of your library. Anytime you draw a card, and you get to choose 1 of those 3 to go into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. So you can't mill yourself out, it's a replacement effect. So if your opponent's trying to play a mill strategy, and you have Undergrowth Lich out, they need exile removal to get rid of this, otherwise you can just pay indestructible if they have some way to kill it. And even if they do mill you out, you have this replacement effect, and so that actually means you can't self-mill, especially when we're doing lots of self-mill, obviously. And it fills up our graveyard while giving us our best card among the top 3 cards as well. Liliana, of course, is fantastic value. Lockmere Serpent, 7/7 for 6. We can flash this in from our hand. And if we do mill it, then we can just exile it from our exile 5 cards from our opponent's graveyard to return it from our graveyard to our hand, and then has these nice activated abilities where we can make it unblockable or to draw cards. We also have Casualties of War, just nice value here since we are kind of a late, kind of a grindier deck. Garrick, just nice value Planeswalker here. Izoni fits with our Undergrowth theme because it makes 1/1 insects for each creature card in our graveyard, and we can sack creatures to gain life, draw cards. Vraska Relic Seeker. It's a fun little one here from Ixalan, if you remember that. 6-mana, 6 loyalty, +2 to make 2/2 pirates with menace. And -3 to destroy artifact creatures or enchantments, and we get a treasure token, which is pretty sweet. And -10 is pretty much going to end the game because target player's life total becomes 1. It's going to be very difficult for your opponent to come back from that. Modrotha here. Basically, picture this as like Modrotha as our commander, but of course, we don't have a commander, so she's just kind of in here. But yeah, 6-mana, 6/6. Each of your turns, you can play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. So just amazing grindy value here. We also have a Lotleth Giant, 6/5 for 7. When it enters, we deal 1 damage to each opponent for target opponent, for each creature card in your graveyard. Beanstalk Giant gives us a way to tutor basic lands, and then it comes down later as just a big beefy creature. Molder Hulk here is a 9-mana, 6/6. However, it costs 1 less for each creature card in your graveyard. So most times this would just be 2, 3, 4 mana to cast this for a 6/6. And then we get a land from our graveyard back onto the battlefield. Erebos Intervention, just a nice flex removal spell, life gain, and exile our opponent's graveyard. Finale of Eternity, of course, just a nice kill spell here. X, black, black, destroy 3 target creatures with toughness X or less. And if X is 10 or more, return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, which is pretty insane if you can pull it off. And since we are a pretty grindy deck, we're in a Singleton environment, it's not impossible to get to 12 mana, so pretty sweet. Mana base, we are running 4 islands, 1 Bojuka Bog, 1 Castle Locthwain, 1 Merfolk the Folly, 5 Swamp, Thriving Moor, 5 Forest, Thriving Grove, Dismal Backwater, Drowned Catacomb, Temple of Deceit, Watery Grave, Jungle Hollow, Overgrown Tomb, Temple of Malady, Woodland Cemetery, Breeding Pool, Hinterland Harbor, Temple of Mystery, Thornwood Falls, so basically just kind of all the dual lands and some of the new thriving lands as well to give us some fixing. Zagoth Triumph, of course, fits in beautifully. Arch of Raskad, help us draw cards late game. Evolving Wilds, Field Pass, and Field Rune for fixing, and of course Field Rune pings out your opponent's utility lands as well. So, not tested this deck at all. We're going to jump into the event and see how it goes. Against Pepelin 6. It's a slow hand. Obviously, Secrets only cost 2, but doesn't do anything with the empty graveyard. We do have the Rejuvenator on 3 to kind of tutor us up some lands. We have the Scry effect from this Temple. So we'll go and start with Temple. Yeah, we'll take a land. We do need lands here. We could Shock in just to have Tyrant Scorn open. So let's do that and pass. And we got Swamp on 3 for the Rejuvenator. Then we can Evolving Wilds for whatever we feel like after that. So we have 2 black, 2 green. So maybe get a blue. Our opponent's running control or something? That's unfortunate. Well, let's see if this resolves. It does. So they don't have counter magic, so it's good to have removal spells in their hand. Because this is taking a minute for them to respond. But it resolved it pretty much immediately. Okay, opponent, you want to kill it? It's a 1-1. Do you have a way to stop its trigger? Sure. You want a Tyrant's Scorn. A 1-1. That's some next level play right there. We have 2 more lands in hand plus 4 on the field, so I don't think we want more lands. I think we kind of have all fixing that we need. We do have 5, but unfortunately it's tapped, so we can't actually play out any 5-drop. Though there's not anything to Rise from the Grave, but we could get this Lich down. That would be pretty powerful. But it can still obviously have exile removal with Vraska's Contempts and things like that. But black only has a... Obviously there's 2 good exile removal spells, so that was pretty awesome draw there. Get this Lich down immediately. And pass turn. So E2 Extinction and Vraska's Contempt, or yeah, Vraska's Contempt are the good removal, exile removal in black. Okay, so they're going to bounce it to our hand. Play it again. I guess we'll do Evolving Wilds. Start thinning. What do we need here? Black, black, black. Green, 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 green. Blue, blue. Most mana is black. Don't think we need that much blue. Obviously we need triple green for a Cavalier, which we have. We have lots and lots of spells in black. We got the Thornwood Falls as well, so yeah, we'll grab a Swamp. These sweet zombie swamps. Pass turn, you're looking top. Ooh. Oh, man. Not too worried about intervention. Death Sprout is interesting. We don't really need lands. Yeah, I don't think we can say no to Liliana. Alright, play a land. They have 2 mana open, so it could be a counterspell. I don't think there's anything we... Let's fire it off. I don't think there's anything we want a -4 here for. They can swing in the air with the Storm Tamer, and it resolves beautifully. So we'll get a zombie out of it. And we'll just keep the Lich back on defense. I mean, we could attack. Start forcing them to maybe chump block, maybe. That's a good target to kill. Definitely want to try to get rid of that. Unfortunately, we don't have enough in our graveyard as yet for this Necrotic Wound. Say this is a -X, so we need to get to -4. Yeah, can't do anything about your Storm Tamer. We can Tyrant Scorn it. Let's see what we hit here. Body Double. We can copy our Rejuvenator. None of these options are really that impressive. We need creatures in our graveyard, so I think we'll actually just go for the Lantern. Alright, so Necrotic Wound gets a little bit better. Mausoleum gets a little bit better. Play out you. We'll keep plussing. Alright, let's bounce this. A couple zombies back now. Let's swing with the Lich. Put a little bit of pressure on them. Maybe force them to trade off some of these creatures. Trading off with the Steward. Wow. I mean, kind of want to get rid of the Storm Tamer. Wall of Ruins. You must have another land to play as Twilight, right? Are you playing around a counterspell? Maybe they think we're some kind of a Sultai control with some of these weird effects. I mean, we haven't really had too much mill, so I guess I can see them thinking that way. Right, with blue mana open, the Storm Tamer can protect, so I think it's worth just firing this off. We protect our Liliana, we can get her to her ultimate faster, and that could potentially force our opponent to concede, and hey, that works. Alright, that's our third win for the Solemn Simulacrum. Into story, which we already have. We'll take it. I'm going to jump into one more just so you guys get a better feel for what this deck is capable of. Got the first couple wins with the Mono Black Zombies list, which I had mixed results with. The deck felt reasonable, but just things didn't seem to really line up for us. Any third land, and we get the Beanstalk Giant, and then we can kind of get the probably get the Simulacrum down. We have the Heartless Act to kind of stall out our opponent. So it's a little sketchy, but we're gonna go for it. Pipeline of Philosophy. Not anything we can play. We can Heartless Act the Eidolon. I mean, if they go to enchant it, I guess we will. Otherwise, we just need a third land. Hopefully untapped, but I'd take a land of any type here just to know that we can Beanstalk to tutor up a land, which is actually Fertile Footsteps. I also get the sorcery inside of these cards sometimes. They use mono blue. Okay. I have to pay 7 to draw cards. That's a long ways away. So we're just going to hold that for something better. It is a land. We will choose blue. That's one color that we're missing. So nothing else. We'll just tutor up a land with this. If we find an untapped land, we will get Solemn down. Okay, we're going to kill that in response to any kind of shenanigans, so we'll try it. They do have blue man open to counter, maybe? Alright. Slow them down a little bit. Okay, grab you, and we'll tutor up. Okay, so that gives green, and green or blue, green, and so we just need our black sorcerer. So we'll grab one of these beautiful zombie swamps. Say go. If nothing else, we have a Simulacrum next turn. Broncos doesn't really do much just yet. So I think we're still just kind of trying to ramp and thin and try to find some more creatures we can play. Notice. I'm not really sure what our opponent's up to. We could kill it, but it is just a 1/3. So we will tutor up. Do we want a third black source here? Or they don't really need a whole lot of blue, so I think we'll just grab a forest. Alright, so now we're up to 5 mana. Slimebind, okay. We kind of don't really care about that at all. Shaman. pretty awkward in this spot. We could Tyrant Scorn to bounce our Simulacrum, but then we're missing a 4th mana to actually cast it. I could play the Shaman just to get a creature down. Yeah, we'll do that. And shuffle a Heartless Act back in. Pass. So we may just Tyrant Scorn just to bounce Simulacrum just to kind of keep thinning the deck. We don't care about this enchantment, but we kind of just want to dig through our library at this point. Get some more lands out. Thin the deck maybe a little bit just to help us find some actual creatures and things like that. Thassa. So Thassa can tap our stuff down. Let's kill this. They can swing for 1, then Thassa can flicker it, and it comes back down as a blocker. Yeah, we'll just fire this off now. Exile your yard. Nothing too impressive. And we'll swing for 3, so we can put a little bit of pressure on them. Do we want to Mythos here? Now, there's not really a second permanent in our graveyard to even get with this. We can search for 1, then we turn 2 permanents from our graveyard to our hand. So Lotleth Giant and Mausoleum are both on 0 still. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We find a land. We can Beanstalk Giant, and that might be enough to put some pressure on them. But I think I actually just want to bounce this, and we can cast it next turn. Sure. Opponent's not really doing much, but if we're not doing anything either, then alright, we'll take action. Guess we'll grab an island. And pass. It's a pretty awkward start, but at least our opponent's not really putting pressure on us. Thassa can be annoying, can tap our creatures down and maybe flicker some stuff on their side. Didn't they already play that card? I'm so confused. Alright, so we got you. I guess we'll just play the big old 8/8. Sometimes you just gotta win with creatures. Terramander. Sure. The finality could be decent. Maybe they play 1 more. We lose our Loaming Shaman, but it's not really super important. So we make our Beanstalk a 10/10, which then gets -4 for the turn, swings in for 6, puts them down to 8. And they're basically lethal, looking at lethal the following turn. So they missed the first time with Augur, and they missed the second time. Black, we will choose, we don't need a ton of blue, so we will choose green. And yeah, let's put counters here, wipe your board. Take action. There we go. Swing 7. Next turn it goes back up to 11. There we go. Alright, so we do have Mausoleum to search for 1, which would be what? Necrotic Wound, which does -1. So didn't really find any of our mill cards. They tapped our creature on their turn, so now it gets to untap. And then they just die. Okay. So instead of having fun with zombies, I guess I should have just ran this deck. The zombies got some pretty unfortunate draws and matchups, and did pretty terrible on the video. I feel like the deck was pretty reasonable, but this one, I feel like it was decent, but we kind of had everything kind of go our way for whatever reason. Obviously, we didn't really fill up our graveyard against that mono blue player, but they were not really pressuring us, not really doing much against us, and all of our removal kind of came to our advantage. The finality on the giant was just good enough to get it done. So we do have some nice power plays here at the end, and you can just kind of win with these big old dumb creatures. But mostly you're just trying to grind out your opponent, fill up your graveyard, and have fun getting value with things like Muldrotha and Izoni and things like that. Of course, Liliana. So yeah, lots of fun cards here in Sultai colors, but not really playing like the broken stuff like Nissas and Hydroid Krasis and Uros. Because you don't really need those cards to win. You know, you can have fun just playing random stuff like this. Well, not really random, just different stuff like this. So definitely enjoyed this Undergrowth style of play. And hopefully you guys enjoy this format. Let me know how you guys do. Ton of fun playing Undergrowth and 100 card Singleton. I'd love to see Wizards support this format more on Arena, whether it's eventually a full-time play queue, but at least you know, some semi-regular events like we get with Pauper and things like that. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, make sure you jank with a purpose.